Thank you again to all of you for being here. Really appreciate it, sharing some of your experience and expertise. We'll start in a similar spot that we did with our last panel, kind of a little bit about your organizations and how you're partnered together with your counterpart. Andy, why don't you start us off a little bit about Cristo Rey and your work study program and how you partner with Johnson Controls and others.
Sure, thank you. So I just want to say that it's great to be in the room with so many friends. I feel like this should be like a happy occasion. I don't know, Dan, what are we serving at the bar? We gotta get good, everything. It's on Dan. But I really do, I appreciate the opportunity to talk about this. It's a really important topic to us at Cristo Rey, but also to the Milwaukee region. I fundamentally believe we have to think about workforce development and talent development very differently in this community if we're gonna thrive into the future. And I feel like our program and some of the many programs that are featured here are going to speak to that, and I hope that those businesses that are here take the opportunity to get involved. I feel like we should have a room that's 3 times this size full of people with this particular topic. And I also want to applaud the businesses who are in the room right now because you're thinking about it differently. You're thinking about it differently already. I walk into corporate offices across the community, and I hear we need diverse talent. We need diverse college-educated talent for our offices, and yet we don't know where to find that. It just confounds me because I look out my window at our school on 18th and National, and I see it walking in and out of our building every day. This city is full of talent. We have to learn how to look at it differently if we're going to thrive in the future. And I'm so glad to be joined by Angie, one of our alum, who can talk about her journey a little bit later. A little bit about Cristo Rey Jesuit High School. We are a Catholic College Prep High School. We're Jesuit High School, south side of Milwaukee, 18th and National. We have 460 students. We're 9 through 12. We're part of a national network of schools. There are 38 Cristo Rey schools around the country that educate over 10,000 kids and work with 3,000 businesses nationally. We've been our network has been around since 1995, so nearly 30 years. And in Milwaukee, we started this school in 2015. We work with we have 450 student work placements in the area, so all of our students work 9 through 12. We have a group that goes to work every single day. They go to class the other 4 days of the week, and really, in addition to their college prep academics and their work program, we hope that they gain a sense of what it's like to be in the real world, to be in a business, to know what it means to walk in, to present yourself, to shake hands, those really fundamental skills. We also hope that they get a sense of what's out there. The last panel talked a little bit about getting a sense of the potential careers. Somebody said if you can't see it, you can't be it, and I think that's very true for many of our students. Like they have to be in the room to see what the potential is. And then lastly, I feel like our program delivers builds social capital in our students. In Milwaukee, relationships matter. Everywhere you go, relationships matter. And what our program focuses on doing is putting our students in the midst of people that they can build relationships with. Because as much as you know, and as much as as many people as you know, it really matters who knows you. And for our students, they're mingling with people who can help them achieve every day. And Angie and many of our alumni are proof of that. So it's great to be here. That's a little bit about our school. Thank you.
Angie, let's hear maybe a little bit. We know you're a Cristo Rey alum. We know you're all in Milwaukee alum. But let's hear a little bit about what your work is at Johnson Controls. Obviously, lots of folks know the Johnson Controls name. What are you doing kind of on a day-to-day basis as a community involvement analyst?
Thank you. Hello, everybody. My name is Angie Sandoval. And yeah, I'm just happy to be here, represent other organizations that I do, as well as Johnson Controls. Specifically, my role at Johnson Controls is in the community involvement department, and they basically helped me realize that I was passionate about philanthropy and volunteerism. So now in that role, I get to engage our employees in volunteerism and get them to open their wallets and give back to those organizations that I know work. So that is what I do here in Milwaukee, but I support that globally for Johnson Controls, and it's a true privilege.
Blanca, let's shift to IC Stars and a little bit about kind of your model and what that is. 16-week, I think, program, super intensive training in the technology space. If you could share a little more about that and your background.
Yeah, no, for sure. Thank you. Likewise, really excited to be here and share a little bit about IC Stars. So we are a technology-based internship program, very immersive, right? So for 16 weeks, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., we provide our interns with 1,000 hours of business leadership and technology through hands-on learning. And so what we do is we really want to see our interns really power through social and economic freedom. And so we do that through this immersive program. And the goal really is to give them, right, the skills, the hands-on training and learning through leadership of what that's going to look like in the workforce, right? And so we have really the awesome opportunities to work with amazing partners like Northwestern Mutual, and you'll always hear me say, you know, the thing that makes IC Stars amazing, it's not just the interns and the hidden talent here in Milwaukee that we get to, you know, find and work with, but it's really these companies that take a investment, right, in our, you know, students to be able to make them, right, the professionals that they need and are going to excel in their roles in this professional market and technology. And so we're really excited that we have a 85% placement rate, right? Like that's a wonderful rate to have, but it's the training that we do with the interns, right? Through soft skills training, through mentorship, through technology teaching, so the fundamentals of coding, right? Get them started into that area and then, you know, give them the opportunity then at the end of the internship to be able to interview with one of our sponsors.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of one of your sponsors, Sarah, you actually know this from both sides. You were previously the executive director at IC Stars. Maybe tell us a little bit about your role at Northwestern Mutual, what it is you do kind of on a day-to-day basis, and how you're partnered with IC Stars now.
Yeah, thank you. Excited to be here as well to kind of share our story and our journey. I actually worked at Northwestern Mutual 20 years ago when I first got into IT and then went off into the nonprofit world and founded and ran one for many years, then landing at IC Stars Milwaukee and being able to work with Northwestern Mutual as a mentor sponsor from the very first cycle. And so it's been quite a journey to really both learn from both sides. And after about 3.5 years there, joined Northwestern Mutual's Tech Advancement and Outreach team. And so my journey has been very similar to my job at Northwestern Mutual in that it has kind of changed and evolved over the years based on business needs. And so when I first started in tech, it was very much about building that tech pipeline. And has since moved over into talent acquisition, where we really get to expand and root this work in finding great candidates, and like candidates at IC Stars, who can get involved in a lot of different areas of our business. And so my day-to-day is really about building partnerships, building those relationships, and having had a very unique lens in being at the organization that we partner with. I think it's allowed us the ability to really customize what this partnership looks like multi-year, and really that intentional investment and making sure that that pipeline is strong at all times and that it's delivering quality candidates. And so we are able to really work hand in hand together, you know, year to year to look at what are our business needs, how do we maybe mature and reshape what this partnership looks like, knowing that we're dealing with homegrown talent, knowing that we want that talent to stay in Milwaukee. And so it's been a great journey being able to continue to work with partners year after year. And again, with talent partnerships, now my role in talent acquisition, really getting to look at the landscape of business and where we find demand, and how even if it's not necessarily a tech focus, our hiring volume may change year to year, again, based on our business need, we know that there's still great emerging talent coming out of IC Stars. And so we can really look at building that pipeline in a number of different ways. And where some companies may eliminate that role, this role has been able to really evolve and change and shift with our needs as well.
I think everyone on this panel has partnered with multiple different organizations or businesses. What maybe do you see as some of the do's or don'ts of these kinds of partnerships? What makes them tick and what makes them falter?
Ladies first, right?
Sure.
So for us, it's really being able to have a great, honest, transparent conversation, right? We need to figure out what are the needs of the company, what are the needs of our, interns, of our program at that point, and be able to say, like, where does this fit in with the company? We want to make sure that when it's all said and done, yeah, placement is a wonderful thing. Having that metric of 85%, right, placement is awesome. But it's how do we get there? How do we get there with our sponsor? So being able really to ask those questions about what's success going to look like for you and for I, so that that ROI is really going to show at the end, right, of that placement. So for us, it's ultimately like seeing our interns placed at Northwestern Mutual or any of our companies, but also being able to see that transformation happen too within the program. And I think a few, of our colleagues had alluded to that earlier. That's through, once again, that mentorship, through that communication that really happens. So definitely having that honest conversation is something that needs to happen right from the get-go.
I can jump in here. I'd like to say, from the student perspective at least, the biggest do is to remember that at the end of the day, we're kind of building these relationships to see where is that going to lead our student? What is our student going to get out of this relationship? And from that, it's really important to build that relationship of trust, of getting to know your student more than what are they interested as a future career. Maybe ask them about their soccer game and allow them to give you that, you're giving the student that comfort to then be able to make mistakes and then ask you a question, and then maybe even tell you, like, what, I'm not so interested in this. And that is where you become a resource. And you know what, I get it. Maybe you're not a finance girly, because I'm not. But let me introduce you to IT, or, that's where you do and you bridge that relationship for that student. Even if at the end of the day, you weren't the perfect match, you can help that student find that match. And then maybe in 4 years come back to your company, even if it's not with you. So that's a big do that I would say, is to just remember that sometimes it's about what the student gets out of it and not so much what you or your department is getting out of it sometimes.
I'll just follow that up. We have learned that the single most important determinant to a successful partnership with our program is that immediate supervisor. That person who's going to be that touch point for that student's experience on a daily basis. The CEO can think it's a great idea, and CEOs are used to thinking big picture and long term and like, this is what we have to do. But when it gets passed down through the organization, sometimes that can lose a little steam and support. And I think Hank was saying earlier, like, really important that they prepare the organization for that student, that experience. I would second that. But I would also say that supervisor becomes really, really critical in ensuring the success of the relationship. And if that supervisor doesn't understand that, or thinks they're voluntold, or thinks it's a burden, or thinks that, and doesn't believe in kids, then it's not going to work. And so, again, Angie's experience and the experiences of so many students that we work with tell us that from a corporate perspective, if you're going to get involved with partnerships, like ours, we need to identify a really special person within that company that wants to engage with the students, that believes in the students. I would say another, don't underestimate what students can do. That I see it all the time. We go do a site visit, and the businesses will say, oh, we just had your student doing this, but we actually gave them a harder project, and they turned it in, and they were really fast at it too. And I said, imagine that. You know, we as adults a lot of times underestimate what young people can do if we give them the chance and if we allow them to take a risk, maybe even make a mistake. And so I think that supervisor is a really, really critical person. I just want to underscore that point.
Yeah, and I'll just add as well, I think from both sides of the coin, you know, working with organizations in the community, nonprofits, educational organizations, what's always important is to, you know, talk amongst your peers and really understand what are best practices, what are you doing, as well on the corporate side. I think it's been important for me to connect with folks in my industry, other folks that have similar jobs. We talk frequently and we talk about, you know, what are your best practices? We share a lot of the same partnerships, and so really truly understanding, you know, what are we trying to get out of this partnership? As Blanca mentioned, having that clear communication, understanding that your corporate partner may have restrictions in how they can partner with you, how they can fund you. And so understanding that, you know, if you're looking for capacity building, if you're looking for program support, there may be a foundation that you go to as opposed to a talent acquisition person that's doing pipeline building, versus there may be tax or legal implications for that foundation to be able to fund you that way. If you're looking to place your students, you know, how are you looking to get them into the company as talent? That's where you're going to go to someone like myself in talent acquisition. I'm blessed to be able to work with a number of amazing colleagues in my organization, from our early careers team to our foundation folks, and we stay connected. And whether we have formal work to do together or not, we make sure that we talk because, again, we share a lot of the same partnerships, we support a lot of the same communities, and so it's important for us to figure out, okay, where does the handoff begin and start? How are we making sure that we're building a true pipeline from our K-12 STEM work, our education work, getting into early careers, getting into experienced spaces, even our executive teams. And so making sure that you're communicating across the line, I think is important. I think it's a don't is to like be one-sided and to really think about these multi-year partnerships are going to shift and change. And if you're always looking for, you know, funding from one area, that may no longer be that business need. A foundation may change their pillars. They may change, you know, what they're looking to fund. Talent acquisition, our needs are going to change year to year based on our business demand. And so really being able to have those conversations, understand both sides, like what is the partnership trying to achieve here, and being willing to be flexible and understand that this may have to shift and change. And again, just really reaching out to the folks around you, both in the community and in your organization, to understand what's happening in the region, what's happening with talent, what's happening with funding, what's happening, you know, across the board in education as well, and how you can then shape both now, but what does 10 years look like from now? So the work continues and it continues to scale and grow.
And I just wanted to add to that because I think one of the most important things too is like, don't be afraid to fail, right? Something is going to happen. If it doesn't go right the first year, if it doesn't go right the second year, let's come back together. Let's figure out where did we go wrong? How do we want to strengthen that? How do we strengthen those weaknesses there? Do not be scared to fail and try again. So I think that's really what's also going to make a really strong relationship.
And that goes back to the kind of open and honest communication you were talking about, and probably also, yeah, looking for it to be a multi-year thing. I guess, Sarah and Angie, kind of maybe a question for you. And Sarah, I think you touched on a little bit, but if you're kind of that point person who's, you know, that connection between organization and education, how do you go about getting the buy-in from the rest of your organization? Is it as simple as communication, or like, what's the key to getting that broader buy-in and getting that frontline supervisor who's going to be the touch point, you know, fully bought into what we're trying to do here?
Sure. I think for me, I am both an advocate for my job, but also for my partner. And so I kind of have, you know, a couple hats at NM outside of my partnerships. Excuse me. Also being the vice chair of our Women's Employee Resource Group, we're able to connect those dots as well. And so if, again, there may be shifts in my role or demand in the type of jobs we're looking for, IC Stars is also one of our 2024 community partners with our Women's Employee Resource Group. And so there we can recruit volunteers, there we can recruit workshop facilitators, folks that can volunteer for events, bring them on campus and see a day in the life at NM and really get to experience that. So I look at my role as also being kind of a convener of key stakeholders, and understanding that it's not just me, and I don't want this partnership to rely on me. If I shift my role, if my role changes, that again, we're building a relationship. We have a multi-year partnership that we've invested in dollars and time and resources, and so it's important also to take other folks along for that ride. It's going to our HR business partners, it's understanding where their demand is, it's understanding where those roles are, it's making sure that they are then going to their recruiters and their hiring managers to say, hey, we already have this talent pool that we know is developing qualified candidates for any kind of role at NM. And really understanding the investment we're making in that talent pool, and so it becomes hopefully an easier lift then when you have a role that opens up. And so it's again kind of being that advocate internally, but also externally for the partnership.
Yeah, going off of what Sarah said, similarly over here at JCI, we bring the mission of an organization to the employees who we already know are active, who are passionate, who want to do more. So in our role, we're exposed to the employees who are always looking for those opportunities. And thanks to hosting these events and getting to know their interests, I'm able to come to these other events because we do wear that advocate hat of, like, oh, you're interested in feeding the hungry? Let's go visit these organizations that have reached out, that want Johnson Controls volunteers. So being in this role, that's kind of the point of contact, how it works, but specifically to Cristo Rey, I think now I'm the point of contact, right? But when I was a student, having that point of contact is another sense of security to the student, because maybe they're not as comfortable to ask their supervisor what's right or wrong or how to copy and paste something, easy, but there's Angie. Angie can tell me what's going on, how I can copy and paste, or how to properly attach something. So being that point of contact for your students, for me, that's what did it. My supervisor at the time was also the point of contact for the Cristo Rey program back in 2015. And she's the one that kind of made me realize that I did not want to be a physical therapist, because originally I wanted to be a physical therapist so I can go be a physical therapist anywhere, not in Milwaukee, anywhere. So going to Cristo Rey, walking into Johnson Controls, seeing Sarah, she was my supervisor, seeing Sarah, how she loved Johnson Controls, she loved her role, and she was truly passionate about not just our Cristo Rey program, but our partnership with St. Jude and our partnership with Hunger Task Force and United Way. Just seeing Sarah and having her to be that example, but also give me that comfort, made me realize that, hey, maybe this nonprofit world is my thing, and I do belong in Milwaukee because there's so much potential here. So in my perspective, the power of a point of contact is really big, and should be someone that's passionate and that truly believes in the mission of the programs that they're working with.
I just wanted to quickly add one more thing is, folks like Angie are your greatest advocate too. They play dual roles, right? You are both kind of the best PR for the organization that you came out of, now just a great employee story, and we've been able to feature a lot of our IC Stars alumni in our talent brand campaigns and our employee stories. But I also then have to brag a little bit that we're the biggest, I think, hiring partner for IC Stars over the years.
You are.
And so we have a group of 20-some alumni that I get to tap into. We have our own Slack channel where we communicate, and I get to pull them in as mentors and really utilize their journey and their stories to help new interns and new candidates understand what their potential could be. And so looking at the folks that are both coming through the programs but are now employees are some of your best resources to continue these partnerships too.
Andy, you talked about businesses kind of are doing talent differently, doing workforce differently, and I'm sure you get inbound or connections to businesses that may have an interest in partnering with Cristo Rey, and they're very excited about the prospect of doing it. What's the best way, I guess, for a business to engage with an organization like Cristo Rey? You probably have a lot of energy at the start, but how does that energy translate to to success down the road?
Sure. So we have, I mean, every year we're looking for other, more organizations to partner with, and we partner with small companies, large companies, and nonprofit organizations, the gamut. Actually, I have 100 kids on my wait list, and we need jobs for next year. So if anybody's out there that wants to do this, see me at the round table. There's no shortage of students that want this opportunity, and many of these opportunities that you've heard from this afternoon. So, but you know, as people reach out, you know, we have a staff of 7 people that are committed to making sure that this program runs well. That we are a partner, a true partner with the organizations that we work with. You know, and early on, the early days, we would get the stories, the kind of deer in the headlights look when we told people we were going to have high school students come into their business. They'd sit there and they'd say, "What are we going to do with high school students?" Or worse yet, "Oh, we've done that before." And what we've assured people, and over the years we've built, is a strong infrastructure so that we can truly be a partner and deliver on what we say we promise to our students and to our corporate partners as well. So we work with corporate partners. We have a whole onboarding process that they kind of walk through. They get to meet the students. We have a summer bridge program, some of the similar things that were spoken about earlier. But I think most importantly, that communication. And then that was another point I wanted to reiterate, is that communication between the businesses and the educational entity. That's where the partnership comes in. That's where the real kind of collaboration happens. Because as an educational entity, I don't expect businesses to be experts in how to work with teenage students. That's our job, right? I expect you to be experts in what you all do. But I need your help to understand how this is all going to work. And I hope that the businesses that we work with look at us and say this similar things like, "Hey, we don't do this, but you do, so help us understand how we can do it better." That's the type of relationship, that ongoing relationship and feedback that's really beneficial.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of communication, we've about run out of time for this panel, but there'll be opportunity for more communication at the roundtable sessions that are about to follow. So thank you to all 4 of you for being part of this panel, sharing your experiences. If you want to hear more from them, go on the roundtables.